Joining us now on the River Islands guest line, 3-time World Series champion, on the Wall of Fame in San Francisco, Jeremy Affeldt, and also author. The book is Built for the Storm, Weathering the Storms of Life with Grit, Faith, and Determination. Want to ask you about that a little bit later, Jeremy, but good morning. Joe Spadoni alongside Joe Shasky. And let's just dive right into this topic and notion. You're a bullpen guy. You get it. Like the mental fortitude for that position in sports might have to be the greatest of all. That and a closer, obviously. They win 12-9 yesterday. The team's been struggling. And on social media, what are the fans complaining about? Oh, well, they gave up 9 runs. I mean, how could they do that? The bullpen, oh my. I was like, can we just celebrate the win? Are we allowed to do that, Jeremy?
Yeah. So fans have to realize the name of the game is to score more runs than the other team. So 12-9 means we scored more runs than the other team. 12-9 means that I have 12 runs to give up, or 11 runs, let's just say. Don't give up 12, don't give up 13, give up 9. That's how you stay sane. It's 162 games, is what it is. You can always find something wrong with a win and wrong with a loss. I would rather find something right with a win. And losses are losses, but for a ball player, for me, when we had losses, what went right? What went right? Focus on that. What can we do better when things go wrong? And there's a lot of stuff going wrong right now. But when you win 12-9, it doesn't matter. It's a W at the end of the year. Even the teams that win 90 or 105 games, they don't go, yeah, but remember that game we gave up 9 runs and got 12? Like, no one cares. You got to win. Like, it doesn't matter in the end. You just don't want it to snowball. So the guys that are being paid to play the game, whether they're playing it good right now or not, they have to deal with the 9 runs they gave up. But the offense can celebrate the fact that we got 12 runs for our guys. And because there's plenty of times where our pitching staff gave up 2 runs and we got 1 for them. So let's just say that we covered everybody. That's what a team does. They cover when others aren't. And that's hopefully something they can build on.
Yeah, I know. Like, I was always taught, pitch to the score. The team has a 3 or 4 run inning and you go back out there. The worst thing you can do is walk the leadoff batter. Let them put it in play. If they're putting it in play, like, look, do I want to give up a home run? No. But if they put it in play, I can live with it. The leadoff walks are just, they drive people crazy. And I do feel like that's even more, you see it more often in the modern game because guys are almost overthrowing coming out of the pen.
Yep. Yeah, man, bullpen guys, if we were good, like at throwing strikes, we'd be a starter. So we're not. But the concept is, can I throw good enough to get 3 outs or 6 outs?
Yeah.
Yes, walking the leadoff guy can be a problem a lot of times because it's the mentality of the game, right? So when you score 3 runs, the offense's thought process, don't swing at the first pitch and just get out. Like, make the guy work. We have to now get back 3 runs. So let's make him work for it. And what buys into a team's hand is when that team scores 3 runs, pitcher goes out there, throws 1 pitch, you hit it in the ground for a ground ball out, 1 pitch, 1 out. You just built momentum. You continue to build momentum. Those teams are trying to figure out how to get runs on the board. So I think what happens for a bullpen, and it is what happened in 08. 08, they struggled pretty bad. They were walking a lot of guys. They're doing leadoff walks. They were putting runners on that shouldn't. And Bochy's thought process was, when I got called by Sabian, he said, hey, I need 2 guys. I need 2 guys to throw strikes and be a veteran out of the pen. If I can get 2 guys to throw strikes and be veterans out of the pen, we can build on. He went and got Bob Howery. That's all Bob Howery did was throw strikes. He just throws strikes. He throws a fastball down at the knees, works the corners, and he threw a lot of strikes. That's what he's known for. I had my walks were up in 08, but it was a lot of times I had a lot of intentional walks. I had a lot of situations where it was like, hey, we need to walk this guy to get to this guy because of strategic play. So when you look at my walk numbers, I mean, I think I had like 17 intentional walks, something crazy that year. So that doesn't count in my opinion, right? So when we got brought in, it was the whole process, the whole thought process was throw strikes, quit putting guys on for free, and let's play the game. And he wanted guys to put balls in play because Bochy had a huge issue with leadoff walks, a big issue, especially late in the game.
Totally agree with that. Hey, you're seeing this young guy in Bryce Eldridge come up. How would you attack him? Because I've seen a variety of things. They went soft away. He made adjustments. They've been coming inside on him. I mean, he's such a large guy. I mean, if you were going to face him, what would your strategy be, you think?
Well, I mean, he's lefty, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I'm going to sink him in. I'm just going to because it's really hard for a big guy like that to get his hands in the ball, inside the baseball when it's moving in. If he's sitting in, it's a little different. But when it's moving in, the reason why I think sinkers in work is because I would tell lefties I'm throwing. It wasn't a secret. I'm throwing in. I'm going to throw in because you better cheat. And if you cheat, that ball's running in. The worst you're going to do is pull it foul, right? And so now a straight ball in, different. If I let a sinker go in middle and it carries the inner half and he's cheating in, he's going to probably get me, right? So for me, it was sink in, especially big guys, because they got a lot of long levers. And when I get them set up to where they're starting to chase or swing a lot of my inside, I can throw that breaking ball or I can throw up and away. It's really hard to think sinking down and in, down and in, down and in, and throwing that ball up. And usually hand placement would tell me where they probably like the ball. And I just got over the fact. I mean, sometimes everybody thinks, oh, man, just throw in on him. Yeah, but the hitter knows that too. And so they also understand that I'm grooming my swing for this pitch, and I'm going to adjust to the other ones, hopefully foul it off, maybe get a flare. But if you throw it right here, I'm going to pound it. And that's kind of how good hitters worked. And that's why I think with a guy like him, he's going to be real good. Obviously he's on fire right now, but I think the more bats he has, he's going to get, he's going to adjust, but the league's going to readjust to that. And they're going to find a hole. And that's where the guys stay in the game longer, is like, you can find that hole. There are guys that hit bad their entire career on a fastball, sinking in right under the belt their whole career. They still played 10, 12 years in the big leagues because you got to be able to put it there and not miss, and that's what they bank on. So this kid just needs to be able to have good at bats, wait for the mistake and hit it and foul off. The other ones aren't, but you're going to get a lot of sinkers, and from the righty, you're going to get cutters in, you're going to get sliders in, you're going to get balls moving, you're going to get hip shot sinkers coming back. You're just going to get those the hotter you get.
Jeremy Affeldt joining us here on the River Islands guest line, former Giants reliever, 3-time World Series champion, and Giants legend in his own right. The book is Built for the Storm, Weathering the Storms of Life with Grit, Faith, and Determination. Jeremy, what did you make of the Patrick Bailey trade at the time they made it? And since then, the team's ERA has jumped from 3.97 to 5.05. Do you think that's a coincidence, or is there a potential correlation? Because what we do know about Patrick, he was an elite defensive guy. Obviously, the bat wasn't maybe what you wanted it to be, but defensively, he could definitely run a staff. And a lot of the guys, Ray, Webb, a lot of the vets trusted him.
Yeah, game calling is a big deal. When it comes to like the Ray and the Webbs, my guess is, I might be wrong, but they're going to call their game. They're going to pitch to their strengths. The bullpen guys, as much as you want to try to sit, I didn't shake hardly ever. I mean, it wasn't a point for me. It was when I came in, I have to, but I needed to trust the catcher. If I didn't trust the catcher, the reason why I didn't shake a whole lot is because that wasn't my job. My job wasn't to come in and try to trick a hitter. My job was to come and throw the kitchen sink at the guy. I'm going to throw everything at you. The starter should have set you up. That's their job. Back when I played, we got paid $5-6 million. They got paid the $50 million starting pitcher better set the guy up for the free $5 million pitcher, right? I'll take your $50 million if you want me to overthink. Like, that's why, I'll take it, but I don't get paid to think. I get paid to maximize my pitch, execute the pitches I'm supposed to execute to the hitters that have been set up. Now, I have an idea of what's going on, but I don't have to sit there and shake a whole lot. That's not my role. So when you see an ERA jumping up, it could be it's a really tough call on if it's a catcher or not, because there is a game plan. There is a game plan that they're supposed to follow, and they're way more detailed now. They all got their little quarterback straps and looking at stuff, doing all their deals. So it's the execution of the pitch. And yes, Patrick Bailey was a phenomenal catcher, but when you got ABS involved, you're not going to steal as many strikes as much as you used to. So some of that you're going to see changing based on strike zone scenarios, having to throw the ball probably a little bit more over the plate now, because you're not going to get away with a 4-inch outside fastball for a strike. The hitter is going to take the risk on that. I see some balls that are thrown for balls called strikes that the hitters don't call it on, probably because it's way too close for them to burn it. But there are pitches that Patrick would steal. Buster did the same thing for us. He stole a lot of pitches on the outside corner, like that you're just not probably going to get anymore. Like Bumgarner cutters inside that were 3 or 4 inches in, they probably wouldn't work now because they'd be calling their little hat tap or whatever the heck they do. So for me, I think it could be they're just running a little bit of a gauntlet. You're going to have that. I wouldn't bring too much into it yet. It doesn't mean you can't. I just wouldn't do it yet.
So, Jeremy, you kind of piqued my interest on a couple things. You referenced the ABS, and I find this interesting. The whole point of the one knee down was to seal that low strike. And I didn't love it for blocking balls and squaring up to the pitcher. And every pitcher's different. Some people want the target. Some people don't care if you kind of showcase it late. Do you think that's played a little part of kind of the wildness of some of these pitchers right now? Is just the whole strategy behind the plate and how the catcher is setting up, and maybe we'll revert back now that the low strike isn't being stolen the way it was prior. Do you get where I'm going with this?
Well, you try to be too fine, right?
Yeah.
So you're trying to almost make it too good of a pitch, and you're putting too much effort into it. Javi Lopez told me one time that was really awesome, and I still use it, especially for my golf game. But because I need it. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast, right? So don't overdo something. Really muster up and try to make it be dirty. Just finish the pitch and just trust the stuff. And if you try to make it too much, you're going to get erratic. You're going to try to throw too hard. You're going to head whip. You're going to pull the ball over, pull the ball to the inside rather than throw it to the inside or run it to the inside. I just think when you got these max velocity guys right now, it is all or nothing. There is no like, hey, man, I'm going to make it look like a strike, but then it ends up not being one, or I'm going to run it back into the strike zone after it starts out away, or I'm going to run it in and out, moving around. That kind of eliminates that stuff. But even when I was playing, if I would try to turn my sinker over too much because I was really trying to get that double play and make sure I get that top spin going for when they hit it, I mean, that's where I threw the scuds, right? And a one leg down probably wouldn't have fared too well for me because I don't think Buster had to be jumping around back there and hockey blocking for me. So, one leg down really takes away from your athleticism. So I didn't see it. I didn't probably appreciate that. I didn't want a lot of movement behind there either. I want you set up. I don't want you jumping. Set up late, that's fine. But don't be like, as I'm throwing, flash a glove up at me. It catches my eyes. I didn't like that either. So, I'd let them know it.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, I was telling these guys that the backhand across the body is just a tough play when your knee is down and established, and it's creating a lot of free 90s for guys out there. How was Bengie different than Buster in terms of calling a game? Or calling pitches for you. I've always, wondered how because Bengie was very underrated as well. And I'm not trying to say one is better or whatever. How were they different?
Yeah, they were actually a lot different. Bengie loved my curveball. And so he called a lot. I mean, I threw a good sinker, but you call my curveball, and you have to use your curve. A lot of times you have to still use it to feel it. I lost a little bit of my curveball feel. I threw some good ones, but I wouldn't say as good as if I threw it more often. Buster didn't call the curveball as much, but Buster had a good thought. Him and I talked a lot about it. It's the style of how he was calling the end of the game based on how guys set up. So Molina likes curveballs, but he'd go for strikeouts a lot, late in the game. Buster is like, strikeouts, just have him hit the ball 18 times on the ground. We'll field it and throw him out. Like, who cares about strikeouts? So that was the thought process, right? And so not one wasn't any different than the other. If anything, I probably threw less pitches with Buster because I wasn't trying to set guys up to throw that curveball, right? So, but I had a better curveball overall feel probably with Bengie than I did with Buster. And Buster would be like, well, yeah, like, why would I call the curveball? Like, took a ball in the jugular yesterday and the curveball. He'll say that. I mean, he'll say, hey, man, I got freaking bruises on my neck from your curveball. I'm going to call a sinker. He's going to hit in the ground. It doesn't matter if they know it's coming. It's still a hard pitch to hit. Your ball's heavy and it moves everywhere. So they called a different scenario that way from the bullpen aspect of it, especially for me. But, I mean, obviously I didn't struggle with either catcher. I trusted both of them.
Jeremy Affeldt joining us here on the River Islands guest line. And Jeremy, I do want to ask you about this because I saw that you played in the Hall of Fame Military Classic, a tribute to service and sacrifice back in May 23rd. And man, there's some big names that was a part of that thing. Wade Boggs, Raleigh Fingers, Todd Helton, Tony La Russa, Jack Morris. Like, what was that experience like, man?
Well, it wasn't much of one. We got rained out in the first inning. So I told my wife, I said, my body hurts so bad right now from trying to get ready, and I didn't even pitch. I'm like, what just happened? But we tried. It was raining, and we knew it was coming, and it was raining the whole time, and we started it. And I think when they saw Todd Helton, and he was a teammate of mine, so I busted his balls a little bit. But when he was at first base coaching, and he pulled his hands inside his sleeves and was like layered up with 6 layers. I'm like, bro, what happened to you? He's like, what happened to me? He's like, what happened to me is I don't act like I'm 15 years younger. If it's cold, it's cold. Like, it was great. But I think when they saw the Hall of Fame guys, like, nah, we really don't want to stand out here. They're like, all right, game over. And so it didn't get much. But to be honest with you, we were able to play in a golf tournament the next day. Rained the entire time. But all the players went out and we did it because, the Hall of Famers are golfing. And probably one of my favorite parts, I had 2. One, my other boys got to see. They had some of my stuff in the Hall of Fame from the playoff record I set for scoreless appearances. And so they never got to see that. And so they got to see it and hold my cleats, and we got to kind of talk about some stories. But then also my middle son's a really good golfer, and he got to golf with us, and we took 3rd place in the tournament, and he got to golf with Tony La Russa, and Tony La Russa hung out the whole time, and I think he really enjoyed. He probably doesn't know much about him in the sense that what he was like as a manager, but he knew he was somebody that was very, very important to the game of baseball in the history of it. So he got to golf with him, and so that was pretty fun. So I enjoyed watching that.
Jeremy, I love your just perspective on life and, playing and stuff because you're so real with it. Who was the guy that maybe had some ownage on you and you're like, how's this guy always get the best of me? He's not even that good. Like, everyone's got some foe in their arsenal or in their resume, where they're just like, I can't believe this guy always gets the best of me.
Yeah, you know what? Eckstein was that.
David Eckstein.
I mean, I'm telling you, the guy obviously played a long time. It wasn't like he was a grinder is all he was. But when you have to jump throw the ball from shortstop to get it there, like, you're a grinder, you're a base. But he's a guy for me that should not have anything on me. He's like, he just didn't hit for power. And I remember I was in San Diego and Matt Stairs was on San Diego's team, and I had played with him in Kansas City. And Eckstein, he hit a homer off me. And we lost the game. He hit a walk-off homer in San Diego. It hit the brick. It hit like the brick wall.
Oh, my God.
And I was like, I watched it walking off. I couldn't even be angry because I was like, one, I don't even know how it's possible to hit a ball that far. But 2, like, I was still like terribly confused on how he hits me. He hit singles, doubles, home. And I was just like, I can't get this guy. So I'm facing him the very next day. And I'm like, Bochy, do you hate me? Or I don't understand why you're making me face this guy again. My first pitch went about 50 feet in the ground and all Stairs. I could hear Stairs yelling from the dugout, don't be scared, you big sissy. And I'm looking over at him like, dude, like, I'm trying not to laugh because, I mean, we're kind of in a big part of the game. I got Matt Stairs yelling at me from the San Diego Doug, trying not to be scared, calling me some other names, can't say it on air, and I'm looking over at him, I'm shaking my head, and I get him out, and I look over at Stairs, and Stairs is just laughing, man. I'm like, God, this guy he's a pest. I mean, he should not hit me like this. And when he took me deep, I was like, man, I might need to retire now. Like, if he's taking me deep, but he was that guy.
You went on to have some great years.
He had 35 career home runs, so you have to be a part of one. That's great. You're one.
And he's got grand slams. I think he hit a grand slam in the playoffs even. I mean, the guy just all of a sudden, but I swear he jumps when he swings, he jumps when he throws. I'm like, this is impossible. This guy should not be hitting people. But he was just that guy. He just, for me, he was just, and even if he didn't have a good batting average, I don't know his batting, he was just one of those guys I watched him, and I was like, this is not it might be a 10-pitch at bat right here. I'm not really,
Well, it makes you appreciate guys like Altuve and what he's been able to do with his size. It's Pedroia, unbelievable stuff. Guys. Jeremy, we really appreciate the time this morning, but I do want to talk real quick about the book that you wrote, Built for the Storm, Weathering the Storms of Life with Grit, Faith, and Determination. Where can we find it, man?
You can find it on my website. JeremyAffeldt.com is the best place. The reason being, you can go to Amazon. I wouldn't suggest it. But JeremyAffeldt.com is there. But the one, if you go through the website, I sign it, but I sign everything personally. My wife actually makes me write a personal note and sign it. And I'm looking at her like, you want me to write a personal note? She's like, yes, they've invested in your book. They've invested in your story. Tell them thank you. Write something personal. So I sign it and write a little personal note in there when you go through my website, because I can control that book delivery, right? So we do that. We've had some pretty good sales. I've really enjoyed being able to speak on it and some of the impact that I've seen because of it. I'm looking forward. I'm going to start podcasting more on that book as well. So that's coming up here shortly too for me, and just dealing with other people who take on storms. So it's been great. I've enjoyed the sales. I've enjoyed the stories, and I'm very thankful I wrote it.
And we're very thankful for you for joining us. Let's do it again this season, man. Thank you so much.